In many Siddurim, there's a prayer which many have deemed strange, don't fully understand it, but yet it is said almost by rote before fulfilling many mitzvot by a lot of observant Jews, and it's a prayer called leshem yiḥud. It's an Aramaic prayer. So I'm going to recite the first couple of lines, and then I'm going to translate it, and then I'm going to read a Teshuva by Rabbi Yosef Messas on the topic of leshem yiḥud and what does it mean. So it goes as follows: Leshem yiḥud kudsha barichu ushkinteh bidhilu urhimu udhilu liyahada shem yodhe bevavhe beyihuda shalim beshem kol Yisrael. So this is a strange language to me. It says the following: For the sake of the unity of the Holy One, blessed is He and His divine presence, with awe and love, and with love and awe, to unify the name Yod-He with Vav-He, in perfect unity in the name of all Yisrael. I have no idea what that means. Now, maybe it's not so strange if you took an elementary reading of the pasuk in Zechariah chapter 14, pasuk 9. It's a pasuk which, if you pray in the Siddur, in any normal way, you're gonna come across this pasuk very often. It's at the end of Alinu. It's right before Yishtabach and the morning prayer. So it goes as follows: V'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz bayom hahu, Yeh Adonai echad u'shmo echad, and Adonai shall be king over all the earth, and in that day shall Adonai be one and His name one. So you could maybe read that pasuk to say, if in some future time His name will be one, and in some future time He will be one, maybe He's not one now. And, it's like, who could blame somebody to read it that way? Because that's how it sounds. Anyway, Leshem Yiḥud is a prayer that is said, and it's relatively modern compared to the rest of the Siddur. In any case, the Teshuva of Chacham Yosef Messas, he is asked by a friend named Rabbi Yitzhak Halevi. I believe it's sometime in the 40s. And he's asked to give his opinion on what does it mean. And so he states the following: You should be aware, my friend, that I too in my youth was accustomed, like others in my birthplace of Morocco, to recite Leshem Yiḥud before performing any mitzvah, without knowledge or understanding, simply as a commandment performed by rote with eyes raised upward. Eventually, I began to investigate the issue and search for an interpreter who could give me a correct interpretation of the text. But I found none. Since this prayer originates from the Kabbalists of blessed memory, and in our era, the wisdom of Kabbalah is no longer to be found in the cities of Morocco. It has been replaced by a new, made-up Kabbalah, chock full of anagrams, gematrias, and mysteries wrapped in absurdities invented by idiots who pride themselves on their false doctrines. Now, mind you, he says this is happening in his time, which is in the 40s. So, take that for what it's worth. After studying a few texts from the genuine original mystics, they have converted them into snake venom, which they parade in front of the masses in the form of false and misleading visions, meaningless dreaming, and words. Now, this last sentence is a reference to Sefer Eyob, chapter 20, verse 14, where it states, Yet his food will turn sour in his stomach, it will become the venom of serpents within him. And a pasuk in Lamentations, or Echa 23:4, the prophecies they gave you were false and misleading. In Kohelet, chapter 5, verse 6, much dreaming and many words are meaningless. Since I passionately desired to understand the text, I decided to ask these people too, thinking that just as one can often find flakes of gold in the sand, so too might I find within them a spark from which I could light a coal. But when I asked them, they all heaped up interpretations around me that anybody should have been embarrassed to say out loud, let alone write down. Because they include an element of thinly veiled misbelief, God forbid, which they were too naive to recognize. When I asked them for a source for their remarks, they told me it's found in lots of books, without naming even one. At that point, I realized that they were worthless and their words were worthless. I was still more perplexed by the custom to recite, we rely on the opinion of our teacher, the Ari, this is Rabbi Yitzhak Luria of blessed memory, and all of our intentions, in order to repair their root upon high, whenever one prays. What does the opinion of the Ari have to do with it? Anyone who prays is concentrating on their own inner thoughts. How can the intentions of the holy Ari, who ascended to God centuries ago, take over from the worshipper's sinful thoughts and repair their root on high? How could anything be more foolish? What right do we have to wonder at the foolish nations who say that their prophet atones for their sins if we, the wise and discerning nation, believe exactly the same thing? God forbid. This is what I believe to be a reference to, other people who believe in Christianity. So I abandoned my custom and stopped saying this prayer since it no longer made sense to me. So that's just a portion of the Teshuva. The whole Teshuva is about 7 pages in translation. Um, if you want a full copy of it, feel free to send me an email. My email is cryptoconvert715 at yahoo.com. I believe that's the email. If it's not, I'll correct it and put it in the description. Anyway, thanks for listening. Take care.